Hey there, Knicks fans. The NBA season is back, and while teams continue to find their footing, our partners at FANATICS Sportsbook are already running championship plays. Bet with FANATICS and earn up to 10% fan cash on your bets, win or lose. So even if your bet misses, you're still scoring fan cash, which you can use on NBA gear, tickets, and exclusive FANATICS events. With fair play, if your player goes down injured in the first half, your bet stays live. Make the switch and get more ways to win with FANATICS Sportsbook. Winning, it's different here.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Knicks Film School Pregame Show. My name is Andrew Claudio, and it is time to preview another Knicks matchup, this time on Tuesday night against the Memphis Grizzlies. The Knicks are on a 4-game winning streak. They have not lost yet at Madison Square Garden this season after demolishing is just the only appropriate way to talk about what they did to little brother across the Hudson, although it was technically on this side, the correct side of the Hudson, at Madison Square Garden on Sunday night against the Nets. And now they play a Memphis Grizzlies team that is 4-7 on the season, has had recent bouts of success, did have like a very good record, 47 wins last season, made the playoffs. Unfortunately, Ja Morant got hurt during the series against the Thunder, got a new coach with a lot of promise and a lot of projected praise. And they come into this game, as I mentioned, 4-7, losers of 5 of their last 6. And I hate to say it, they're in the bit of a hellhole stretch on their schedule where they're playing the Knicks on Tuesday, then they play Boston, then they play Cleveland, then they play San Antonio, all on the road. So they're going to have to start getting better soon. Their offense, as I go to my notes, as I usually do at the top of this, their offense is 25th in the league so far this season, 18th in defense, good for 22nd in net rating. Some of the specific stats that we like to look at, pace, something the Knicks have struggled with this year. This is a team that does like to run. They're 9th in pace this season, 2nd in total possessions. But as we like to talk about, field goal attempts are really the thing that matters. Is the team getting more field goal attempts than you? And they're only 13th. They're around league average in field goal attempts per game. They do take a ton of threes, 9th in 3-point attempts per game. But this season, they have not been falling, only 22 per 22nd in a league for 33% on the season. A lot to talk about this Memphis Grizzlies team. Some is on the court, some is definitely off the court. There are some fun rookies to talk about, or some young players, but of course, Ja Morant's name will come up. Who else better to talk about the Memphis Grizzlies with than my special guest for today from Bleacher Report, Molly Morrison. Welcome to Knicks Film School.
Thank you. What an introduction. I'm like, dang, you really killed my vibe here. I was excited.
I know. We had such a pleasant conversation before we started recording, and then I talked about the Grizzlies.
Then you talked about my team and actually listed out these things that I am watching with my own eyes, but when you hear the stats, it's like, right, yeah, it's not great. So we do have a lot to talk about.
This is normally where I start, but I think it's even more specific to the Grizzlies, yes, where I ask, how are the vibes? Yes. And like I've watched a couple of I won't say full games. I've watched like a couple quarters of the Grizzlies. They're still, I guess, figuring out the new coach. They're working in some younger players. Cedric Coward's been outstanding so far this season. I do want to talk about that. The Ja Morant thing is just like the thing that is front and center, I think, from an outsider's perspective. So to an insider's perspective, inside the fan base, how is the fan base handling the Ja Morant thing and the situation going on?
Listen, I wish there was a clear answer to all of this, but there's so many factors that are contributing to all of these issues right now that it would take 6 hours for us to, like, it would be a 6-hour therapy session to be like, here's what is happening. Because the issues with Ja don't stand alone, right? They have to do with injuries. They have to do with the coaching, this offense that is different. Whereas last season, of course, we infamously implemented this new offense that a lot of teams are starting to do more of, which is the wheel offense, more of the 5 out, more of the spacing, the pace. But Ja is struggling. Ja has also made headlines because for the first time in his several-year career, he really had a moment where I don't want to say gave up on the team, but kind of gave up on the team, right, in a game. And I feel like once context was added, it it didn't upset me as much as it did in the moment when I'm sitting there watching it confused. My thing is always like, I don't care what's going on between a player and a coach, a player and a GM. Jimmy Butler, when he started to lose me in that situation, was when he started to just bring it onto the court and really drag down his teammates. I just don't think that's fair. I don't think the Ja situation is comparable. Mentally, he had a bad moment. As he said, Jimmy Butler style, he lost his joy. So I was a little worried. That being said, that specifically didn't turn into as big of an issue as I thought it would. The giving up on the team, because that felt resolved. But now there's this other issue that stemmed from that, which is, oh, is he bad at basketball? He's not. But that seems to be the new discourse. Oh, Ja has no value. No one wants Ja. So it's been a very strange week in Grizzlies Twitter. I have seen it all. I've seen all ends of the spectrum. I do think the overwhelming feeling is still overwhelming, which I really saw when I published my own little vulnerable piece about why I want Ja to stay on the Grizzlies and I do not want to trade Ja. The overwhelming sentiment is that a lot of the negativity around his play is it's like, again, there's so many components that go into it. So what was the question?
Well, so let me back up a second, because I didn't do my job as someone trying to explain the situation, like what the actual situation is and what the incident was where he, quote unquote, quit on the team. It was the end of the Lakers game, right? Where he got taken out and then came back in, looked uninterested in participating in an offense. I don't think he went inside the paint at all. And when your point guard's not going inside the paint, I wonder how effective your offense is. And then after the game, when the media asked him, like, what happened there, he said, talk to the coach. Yeah. And there seems to be a very big disconnect with how he was used, a disagreement with the new coach. And that led to a 1-game suspension. Yes. And to your point about he came back, and now it's like the most recent Thunder game that they played, he shot 3 of 18 from the field. Yeah. He's averaging like under 20 points a game to start the season. A lot of his numbers are very down through this 11-game stretch, and really this 5 out of 6 stretch that they've lost. Now, to add more context, if you could, what was the context that I guess a Knicks fan or just people outside might not know about that Laker game and that incident that would be more helpful, that helped you understand it a little better? I
think just there was frustration with the coach's system, which is this, so the coach, Islo, he was really successful in Europe, like very successful, like a legend there as a coach. And something he really believes in is these bursts where you're constantly subbing out players, right? You're playing them in like 4-minute stints and then subbing.
Yeah,
exactly. And I think that Ja just felt frustrated and lost, and Islo called him out. I admittedly like kind of have ignored. I'm like kind of ignored different reports because it doesn't feel like the truth is really out there. And it's like, if reports are saying different things about what exactly happened, then what are we supposed to know? But end of the day is there was a clash between Ja and the coach. Coach called out Ja for a lack of leadership or whatnot, and Ja was not happy. There was probably some conversation about his play, but Ja is a player who, the thing is, I have not given up on Ja Morant as a basketball player. There are valid concerns about things in his game that might have weakened over the years, right? He's also adapted his game in order to stay healthy, which is something he's figuring out. He famously said last year, like, I'm done dunking. Obviously, he's not done dunking, but he smartly was like, okay, I'm going to try to limit, the crazy explosiveness, the bursts, in order to maintain my health. He has been healthy this season, which is great. But the issue now is that the shots are not falling. There's a lot of reasons for that. I mentioned earlier the health, which I do feel like isn't properly really thought about in the wider conversation, because it's not fair to constantly point to health, right? Every team deals with injuries, but right now the Grizzlies are down 4 rotation players. Jock Landale is our starting center. enough said. No, I'm kidding. Jock has done a pretty decent job, but there's no one screening for Jock. Right. He's not able to drive to the basket and get his points in the way that he normally is. He doesn't have enough space. So what's happening is he's attempting threes, which he's not good at, and he's attempting a bunch of middies and they're not falling. Also, of course, he's frustrated with his offense. So it's a combination, I believe, in like him feeling like he's not able to get in the flow, and also two of the best guards behind Ja are injured, right? Scottie Pippen Jr., Ty Jerome, and then you have Edie and Brandon Clark, two guys who, can help, physical presences who can help Ja get to the spots that he needs to be and do what he needs to do and thrive. And something though is like Ja is, I've seen some commentary about, oh, well, at least he's been a great passer, but Ja's always been a great passer. It just has often been overshadowed because he is more known for, getting to the hoop. And the concerns I do think are valid in that, okay, the shot's not falling and all of these things, but I also feel like we've seen Ja thrive next to a big who can screen for him, and that's not there right now. And I do think that that's like a very important point. I mean, Edie's hurt. Steven Adams, the two of them, their pick and roll game was literally, oh my God, I miss it.
I was going to say, that's the biggest thing it looked like last year that he really missed was like the screen assist that Steven Adams used to set for him. Like Brunson had the same adjustment when they lost Hartenstein. As good as Cat is offensively, not the greatest screen assistant.
Yeah, exactly.
Sense,
No, I'm sure you can relate to it. It's like funny when we watch Jaren try to set a screen. It's like, why can't you do it? You're 7 feet, but it's just it's just not natural. It's not what he's meant to do. So yeah, I think that Ja, like Edie is supposed to come. I was hoping he would come back by Boston game. So he won't. The Knicks will blow. I think you guys should blow us out.
Should blow him out? Okay.
Yeah. I don't.
You realize you're setting Knicks fans up for like a heartbreaking loss right now. No. And we'll talk about that game later, but like Knicks fans will be prepared now to blow out the Grizzlies. And then if this is close in the fourth quarter, they'll come into your mentions.
Yeah. Well, hey, I'd like that to happen. I hope
not a first. That's the
ideal scenario for me that I'm wrong about getting blown out. But I am such a believer in Ja, and I think it's obvious. So many point guards have passed him. He hasn't been available the way that he's needed to be to really prove himself, which allows people to pass him, suspensions, injuries, all of that. But at the end of the day, Ja Morant is a player who I am so confident in. There's only a few players in the league that can take over at the end of a close game, and Ja has that ability. Right now, the shots just aren't falling. The offense isn't flowing. We can talk about Jaren within the offense too, because he's gotten lost in it as well. It's not as black and white as it seems. An issue of, oh, Ja's not hitting shots. It's a lot of there's not really cohesion right now with the Grizzlies. They haven't figured out the units. The coach, and I'm not trying to sit here and blame it all on the coach, right? But he has a lot to figure out. Jaren is getting less touches than he's ever gotten, which the coach, defended by saying that he's actually like more efficient than ever. But that's not ideal. They need to figure it out. And maybe some of that means Jaren taking some of that responsibility off of Ja, because a lot of it has been, Ja having the responsibility to create in every possession. And Jaren and ISO was doing a lot of great things. So I think that I'm not as worried as the state of Twitter is. It's just at the same time, my expectations have lowered.
So it sounds to me like you're trying to. It's only 11 games. It's still very on under a new system that they're really getting used to. And people on Twitter that have access to the internet are going to the extreme. Not that that's ever happened on the internet in any way, shape, or form. No, not once, not ever. I guess I do eventually just want to talk about basketball, because I am curious what being lost in an offense that was rumored to be revolutionary, like the reputation that Lasalo had when he took over for Jenkins last year. There was also a game the Knicks played against the Grizzlies last season at the Garden, where I went in being like, this is a good test. This is a really good team out west, and this should be, and the Knicks just blew their doors off.
Yes.
And I got a sense of the short rotations then, that they were playing 11 guys. It was like 5 minutes on, 5 minutes off. Not a lot of ball screens either.
No.
And it looked as if that was something that they were frustrated with. And now you're telling me that it's still something that they're frustrated with.
No, see, that's the difference, is that now the lack of ball screens is because of the lack of personnel. It's like we had Edey available. So last season, the Grizzlies brought in Noah LaRoche, who is now actually, I made a video explaining how the Heat are implementing this new offense that the Grizzlies were experimenting with last year. It didn't work for them, but it's been working for the Heat, especially towards the beginning of the season, because it just fits the personnel more. And that system means abandoning pick and roll, right? Which makes no sense when, as we discussed, Ja is a player who thrives, in the pick and roll.
Yeah,
so,
it's a system that works for guys like 3 through 11, but guys 1 and 2 are then left to try to figure out how to make it work for them.
Exactly. So that was the frustration there, but the offense isn't that way. So basically what happened was Jenkins getting let go, Taylor Jenkins, actually, he did not implement that offense. That offense was implemented by this Noah LaRoche guy, a lot of these new assistants and staff that came in. Now, this season, me talking about the struggles with the pick and roll is because Jock Landale is our center. Zach Edey isn't there. So we had Edey last year. We weren't taking advantage. When they did, play that way with Edey and Ja, it was effective, but they just didn't for so long. So it's like two separate issues, actually. This season, I think the issue has been, number one, figuring out the personnel, like I said. Number two, depth, lack of depth in the front court and back court, right? They've got 2 key guys missing in both of those ways. And number 3, Islo is now doing this thing where, like I said, he wants to do these bursts of offense, which is harder when it's guys who are still figuring out how to play together. And it's not maximizing anybody. It's not. And you talk about Cedric Coward. Cedric Coward, oh my God, he's been the bright spot of this Grizzlies season. Truly, I am in awe. It's the most pleasant experience. And I wish I could shout out the author of this piece. I read a really great piece that got me really high on Cedric Coward after it was like before the draft, and he's just, oh my God. Yeah. So Zach Hyman, who was our GM, has done it again on the draft front, which distracts from some of the other things. Maybe.
I'll just jump in. The Cedric Coward stats just stand out. We talk a lot about 50, 40, 90 being a benchmark for efficiency, and if you're that, then you're one of the greats. It's an 11-game sample, so we're not going to conclude too much. But over his first, I believe he's played all 11 games. 53% from the field, 44% from 3, and 92% from the line. He's been, like you said, the bright spot, and this is what I always attributed to the Grizzlies and their infrastructure. That doesn't matter where they're picking, they're going to add a rotation player, which is what is a lot of teams that aren't good with their infrastructure, and they need to be so bad that they're at the top of the draft where there's just a bigger talent pool for high-end talent. And I respect the Grizzlies and climate and what they're able to do instead. I haven't really mentioned what Ja's stats are this season, and we can move on from the John Morant conversation after this, I promise.
Okay.
But he's at 36% from the field, 15% from 3, and he's 95% from the line. So that's still there. I guess the only question I have, because I think we all play this game at the beginning of every basketball season. How real is this? Like last year, Dante DiVincenzo was shooting 25% from 3 through the first 15, 20 games. Right. Like everybody knew that's going to turn around. I don't have to tell you that I think Des Bane is probably going to figure out how to shoot again in Orlando at some point this year. After the years you watched him be one of the most efficient shooters in the sport. I guess the fear isn't, is this him or is he good at basketball now? Will his frustrations with this offense lead to improvement? If it just doesn't sound like to me that there's a lot of buy-in from him. So I mean, I hate to go full transaction question on you, but do you think like the time for him in Memphis could be coming to an end if this is how like this version of this team is now going to going forward?
I will say his energy, even though he was so poor from the field, and by the way, I don't appreciate glazing over the Cedric Coward. I was like sitting here.
I was ready to go to it. We have to wrap up the Ja stuff. That's all.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Yes, Ja. You say still great from still 95 from the free throw line, but actually he's improved a lot over that was something he once struggled with. So that is promising. The 3-point shot is so frustrating because it's like they always look good and he's not. There was a point a couple of years ago where it felt like he was starting to develop the shot, and I was like, oh, it's over for the league. It has not continued to happen. The numbers, again, I'm not that worried. And you ask if you feel like he's going to, like, the body language was better. I think the only scenario, like, this is not going to last. This slump that he is in is not going to last. And asking about the trade, if he is truly unhappy and wants to request a trade, I think that's the only scenario he gets traded.
They won't decide to trade him, you're saying. He would have to be the one to request out.
And I don't think he will. He's never given an indication that he would. To me, he seems like the kind of guy that's like, I really want to stay in Memphis and like ride this out. Yeah, they're not going to trade him. You could argue there's a logical basketball reason, but at the end of the day, you don't trade your franchise player, cough, Nico Harrison. And you don't. He's what fills the arena. He's incredible. He's the first superstar the franchise has ever had. I don't think he gets traded unless, like, I was working with S today, who, you know,
Mr. Barahini, friend of the show. Yeah.
Yes, who does some creation for Bleacher Report, and it was funny because he was working on like a job potential trades video, and I was having to like produce it, which is part of my job, and it was horrible. And in it, you know, he's talking about, oh well, there's this potential with Emmanuel Quickly, and I'm like, respectfully, like, Emmanuel Quickly is not filling seats. Do you know what I mean? Like, even if that wasn't the trade straight up, but you know, it just, at the end of the day, it comes down to Ja's the franchise player. Ja will figure it out. Ja's incredible. He might not be the version of Ja that we saw a few years ago, but he's going to be a lot closer than whatever this version is we're seeing now. I'm not worried. I think that it's been at a certain point, you do have to stop making excuses. You have to stop blaming the coach, the offense, all these things. But I'm making them right now because I think there are valid ones out there. So we'll you know, ask me how I'm feeling in a few months. But right now, I'm not as negative as I could be.
As you could be. Okay. Well, look, I feel for the Memphis fan that what this season's become, what this team and this franchise was. I mean, shoot, a year ago today when they were up toward the top of the West, looked like they were really off to a great start. They were a 2 seed in back-to-back seasons before the ultimate year from hell. So it's why I want to talk about something positive. Let's talk about Cedric Coward even more than we just mentioned him. So let's just start here. He's only been a bench player right now, so there's been limited usage, limited time. What's the highest projection that you've seen that a Memphis fan has had? Been like, oh, we now have someone that could be our blank.
He's going to be our J-Dub. That's what I see in his game. First of all, he's 6'5", but his ability to guard on the perimeter is incredible. He has like a 8-foot something standing reach. Like his wingspan is incredible. He's such an intelligent basketball player. He's so efficient and he takes such smart shots. Like, he's a rookie, and you're watching rookies and you're like, okay, like, not to specifically call out a player. You know what? I won't name drop. There's a player on the Grizzlies who's, and I feel like if someone's listening to this, they'll know what I'm talking about, who's, you know, sometimes every game I'm watching and he makes a few decisions and I'm like, what are you doing? And actually in the last game, one of those decisions was not passing So do you hear the siren?
I do. I can edit it in post, though. It just became very clear you're in the Big Apple. That's all.
Okay. Was not passing to Cedric Coward for like a heat check when he had just drained 2 threes in a row. Cedric Coward, there's a couple mistakes as any player, but like 98% of what he does is just so intelligent. He's so active on both ends of the floor. Like immediately, so you say he's, you mentioned him being a bench player. I'm pretty sure he's playing like more minutes than any non-Ja or Jaren player. And like you said, the 50, 40, 90 thing, like I was listening to Grits and Grinds earlier, and he had mentioned, I think he's like the first player ever to do that in these games with like 15 plus points, which is just incredible. And you can tell like when you're watching him and just what he does off of the bench, he just immediately raises the floor of what that lineup can accomplish. And it's so freaking exciting. It's like, to me, it's rare that I see a rookie that I'm like, this guy's inevitable. A rookie that's not, a top whatever pick. And it really is such a bright spot. And like when you look at the Desmond Bane trade, where they got the 4 picks and then it turns into Cedric Coward, it's hard to not see that as a victory when you look at some of Bane's limitations, which would, come up in the playoffs against a guy like a J-Dub, right? Where he just couldn't, he didn't have the length. He couldn't do what he needed to do. And now we've got this guy who, I'm not saying like, oh, Howard's better than Bane. Of course, he's a rookie, but it does seem like that was, I'm really glad that he's on our roster and he's going to be incredible. I'm so excited.
From a value standpoint, though, I think at this point in their careers, you could make the argument that having a young player on a rookie contract that might project to be even higher of a defensive ceiling.
Yes.
We'll see if he's the shooter, if he can provide that type of value, if this is real. But I am very intrigued by, everybody's looking for wings, right? And It looks like the Grizzlies found a wing with the 11th pick in the draft. Though they didn't have the 11th pick. They traded it from Portland, right?
Yeah.
I just did a Nets pod, obviously, and a team that took 5 first-round picks, and it's like you don't have a single one that I project, or at least I'm afraid of going into this. The Grizzlies didn't even have the 11th pick, and they walk away with probably the best player outside of that top, like VJ Edgecombe, Cooper Flagg, Dylan Harper stretch. So we'll see. I have a question about Jalen Wells. Really impressed by him last season. And again, this is part of that rookie factory that the Grizzlies are able to kind of manufacture and just find rotation players the way that they do. His shooting numbers aren't great to start the season. Is that just like, again, to a Ja, early small sample, or is
he looked better the other night? He looks like I'm not worried about him. And also, like, I'm such a believer in the sophomore slump. Like, you see it all the time, and he'll be fine. I'm not worried. That's another great pick. For the Grizzlies, and I'd love to talk about the Knicks. I'm like excited about the Knicks. You guys are more exciting than my team. But no, do you have any other?
Well, so one more question, and I know it's a 4-7 start, and you got this rough stretch coming up, and Ja's going through it on the court. Yeah. But as we discussed, this is something we're going to work through it on the court. Yeah. What does a disappointing season look like to you? The end of this season will be disappointing to you if it ends this way.
You know what? The expectations have changed so much, and it's really sad. Because, like you said, we were at the top of the conference for a few seasons in a row. Right now, it's this clash. It's these two clashing existences in this roster, which is these young guys we talk about, Edie, Coward, Wells, and then you've got Ja and Jaren. And it's like, okay, so is this, they've continued to like buy in on youth while, keeping the core. And obviously they made the decision to get rid of Bane, who was the 3rd best player, and more of an attempt to do that. It's so hard to know. We have not seen this team at its full form. I like some of the stuff they've done. I liked what I saw from Ty Jerome. I love what I saw from Scottie Pippen Jr. last season. That's another great find from the front office. And I really do like Edie. I think a lot of criticisms about his game aren't fair. But what can this team do in a Western Conference that is just stacked? I have no idea. We don't know. So what is a disappointment? Honestly, I want this team. I want to make the playoffs. Like it was like you're sitting here. I'm curious what your answer for the Knicks would be, but honestly, like not finals, I feels would be a disappointment.
It's finals or bust this year, especially when you get rid of your coach before you make the finals. You know.
Yes, exactly. So that was how I didn't feel finals or bust because we didn't quite far enough for that. But it was conference finals or bust, and the expectations have changed. I'd like to make the playoffs. I'd like to be healthy. Health is the number one key. I don't want my basketball team to be sad. I want them to be having fun. I want my star player to be having fun. I want the vibes to be good. That's like kind of my number one goal right now. I'm really worried about this road trip. Like you said, it's hard. You gotta be Boston, especially since it seems like Edie's, not gonna be playing. Like it just feels like that's a win you need. You can take advantage of the fact that they don't have like the size that some of these other teams we're playing have. So it's hard when you want the vibes to be turned around to go into this road stint we're going on.
Mm-hmm. I
just hope that they can, figure it all out and get through it.
I think the only not advice, because we're sports fans, there's no real advice to give. The only comfort I would give is that I know you know this, John and Darren are 26, and then the next three players I would point to in the pecking order are all rookies or sophomores, and there's still like a young nucleus here. And the thing I've come to understand over the years is like, especially in this new CBA world that we exist in, like these runs end very shortly and they recycle very shortly. So the Grizzlies with a young nucleus, probably they could be a 55-win team next season. As soon as that, because of some internal progression, maybe the West comes back to where you can be a 55-win team, and that's not like a 7 seed again.
Yeah, it is harder. When you are a team like the Grizzlies, who's not going to be getting free agency doesn't exist the way it did before, anyway.
Not as much as it used to, but then free agency and. Just sometimes the Lakers get Luka. Like that's the way major trades happen now.
The Grizzlies don't get that. Doesn't happen to the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies get Chandler Parsons and pay him $100 million.
That's a reference right there. Yeah, I remember the night that happened. It was the night that Joakim Noah got $72 million from the Knicks. So that was a fun CBA.
Yeah, you as a Knicks fan, your existence, you know all too well. The jersey swaps, like Grizzlies, we don't get jersey swaps. Like we're not. That's because we just know we've never. So like that's the good news is like it's not like during free agency wherever like this guy's coming here. It's never an option, but it does make it more precious when you do feel like you have something building and you're like, okay, shit, like we want to capitalize on this. Again, like I hate to be like the blame the coach person, and I blame the person who's hiring the coach more than I will blame the coach, because that's not really fair. But I don't see the vision in bringing in, and this is not to disrespect Coach Isolo at all, because he is clearly a very respected coach. He is clearly very successful, but I just struggle with bringing in a first-time NBA head coach to a team that needs, their issue was kind of needing to grow up a little. And I liked a lot. I don't know if Mike Malone didn't want the job. I don't know. They didn't seem to conduct a real search, but I liked that a lot. I just think bringing someone in who doesn't need time to figure things out himself, right? But we've got the pieces. I believe in John, Jaren. Jaren, again, that's something that's fallen through the cracks, but his season has been very, disappointing again, just in that the offense isn't gelling just in a way that's maximizing him. A a lot of that comes in on like it's not ideal when you don't have anyone that's really able to, because like Jaren, where he thrives, right, and like when he was at his best defensively is when you've got a guy like Steven Adams there, so he can roam, and he needs that. So, and just offensively, like I said, he's not getting to as many attempts at all because it's just not flowing through him the way it has. So, well,
we'll see if they figure it out. I hope they don't do so against the Knicks on Tuesday night. That's for sure.
I hope they do, because I'll be there. But
so okay, if they do figure it out against the Knicks, I'll have one solace, and it's that Molly got to watch her team try to figure it out.
I don't want it to be a repeat of last time. I was there as well. I was in the building for that, and the only good part of that night was that I ran into Nick Kroll on the walk home, and he was like, "Hey."
Positive. Okay. Had nothing to do with the court or the game, but there you go. Yeah. So you wanted to talk about the Knicks. The next question I usually ask people is your thoughts on the Knicks. I can kind of give the interview over to you if you'd like to. What questions or thoughts do you have about the Knicks?
Again, it's like, I'm such a believer in like I can't sit here and talk about the Knicks with someone who watches every Knicks game, right? So like, I'll tell you kind of what I think, but I want to hear what you think and what
please.
People are saying within the fandom. Because like I also was a bit confused, obviously, by the Tibbs firing. Not confused because everyone knows his glaring issues. It's like the most known coach thing in the league. But it's like, right, like you said, they go far. It's a big deal to change coaches when you're right there. But at the same time, like from what I've seen, the offense is just completely different and it's refreshing. And I'm curious because you could be like, oh no, but like, oh my God, I would get so frustrated watching y'all last season. And it's just Brunson fighting while everyone is standing around doing nothing. It was like the most stagnant, frustrating thing. And you'll have all these guys on the roster, and it was like they just weren't being utilized. And it was like the issue with the Grizzlies lineup is they don't have scorers, but the Knicks have like so many scorers. So it shouldn't be all up to Brunson. Like that doesn't, talking about maximizing the personnel. So yeah, the ball movement has really been impressive. I mean, Mitchell Robinson, to me, like it's funny to say like that he is someone who isn't, one of the top players, but like as I talked about with Steven Adams, I'm such a believer in just the guy that can grab the rebounds and doesn't need to be the center of the offense. Essential. And seeing him on the floor has been great. So yeah, I want to hear.
So I'll start with the Tibbs part of this because I want to just make clear, because I feel like I've actually fallen on the side of just criticizing Tibbs now that like the Knicks were good last year. They were a 3 seed. They made the conference finals. What he did in those first 2 games, I mean, it looked like he had one card to play during the playoffs, and it's that going into the Boston series, we're just going to switch up the defense that we've played all season. And if the Boston series was the conference finals, he's a legend forever because he outcoached Missoula. And and it's to this day still, if you look at the odds makers, like shout out to my friends at FANATICS Sportsbook, like it is still one of the greatest upsets in basketball playoff history,
they had street signs with the players' names.
The entire city like bought in on this run because of how improbable it was. And he was at the helm of that upset. As many a person has heard me say, though, and as you just kind of alluded to, I think the only coach that could ever have that success, have that series, and then still get fired for losing after losing in the conference finals, because all the things I've heard is that it had nothing to do, like in all of the conversations, the reporting that I've heard from people, not once is it like you lost to Indiana, it's not good enough. It's we're sick of you and this one way that you play. Like you said, the very boring, not creative offense that was last season. And I got to say, like there are some people, like shout out to my buddies over at Hot Hand Theory. I know you went on with Jeff and XJ last year. They were saying this when the vibes were all time high 2 years ago. Yeah, that Brunson is operating in a phone booth. Now he's Superman, so he succeeds in said phone booth.
Yes.
But that run that they went on 2 years ago, where he had all these 40-point games, and it's like, man, Josh Hart's playing 48 minutes. He's should be commended for this. And you just start to think, what would it look like if he just played like 38 and we had 10 more minutes of better spacing? So look, as much as I appreciate Tibbs and he should never have to pay for another meal or a drink in New York City again, the first 11 games of the Mike Brown experience, even in their 3 losses, have all like the looks are great. The offense is great. There's buy-in. Clearly, you see them learning the offense as they go. More people are getting an opportunity to score.
Right.
More people are getting an opportunity to touch the ball, which is just like an underrated part of basketball that you feel more involved. And it's great. And I think I just had this huge debate this weekend in one of our shows, KFS Study Hall, about like, was it the process or the results that got Tibbs fired? And again, I know it was the process.
It was, absolutely.
So I can then point to, if Mike Brown, if they don't make it to the conference finals this year, yes, it's a failure, but I think the process will still be better. And if they just like run into Giannis and he decides to average 40 and 20 for a series, and it's like, oh, a team that had 2 poor defensive players in their starting 5 all season, like that became an issue. It was the same issue we had last year. That's just something
I was obsessed with
Tim have to be addressed.
Like with his back against the wall. He's like, oh yeah, I have a bench. Yeah, totally.
Right.
Like, okay, well, at this point,
we call that rent due, Tibbs. He's never going to actually adjust until the rent's due. And I think that conference finals, when they were down 2-0 and he finally changed a very mediocre starting lineup, we called that eviction notice, Tibbs.
Yeah, literally.
And so look, I appreciate the man. I do have to point to what we've seen so far this year, and it seems like a much more sustainable, successful, and more like fit to the personnel that they have process. Yeah, and I think that's what a lot of Knicks fans are excited about.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's like y'all's team, you have like the best starting 5. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't get better. Yeah, it doesn't get much better than that. So you just, for it to only operate through one guy just makes no sense. And again, that's just because that'll help Brunson out, right? Like, he's so good that, like you said, it can, like, they can get away with doing that, but it's not sustainable. It's not going to get you all the way there, right? Because defenses can way more easily figure that out. So and to your point, like the reason they were successful last year, outside of just having so much talent, like Brunson winning Clutch Player of the Year, it just wasn't a mistake. Like their entire offense in crunch time was Josh Hart, go screen for Brunson, because they put a center on you. And like, Kat, you go stand over there and be a spacer. OG, like the guy you traded Julius Randle and Dante for, go be a spacer. The guy you traded 5 picks for, go be a spacer. The guy you gave... Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's just like, OG, go stand in the corner. It was mostly just like Brunson.
That's what it was.
Yeah, Brunson Hart pick and rolls, you know?
What do Knicks fans think about Cat? I'm actually so curious.
So I just had the Knicks played the Timberwolves last week, and I had this same conversation with Dane Moore. The summary of it is just that he's very polarizing.
Yes.
I think there are some that have already decided we're never going to win anything with him. We should have kept Randall. If we had waited another year to have all the picks, Giannis would be a Knick right now. We shouldn't have done it. Then there's another side that's like, he's finally in an offense that is going to maximize him and deploy him in lineups that take advantage of his shooting. We've already seen him show progress. Like, he's learning how to fit like the Sabonis role in a Mike Brown offense. And we will judge him not after 8 games, but after 82 plus however many games. Like, this is a April, May, and June judgment of Cat. And if at the end of this year, it's very clear he's the thing holding us back, like Tibbs, we'll trade in our paperclip for hopefully something better. But I'm mostly positive on Cat. I think we've never had, it's like Porzingis for half a season was the only thing I had that could shoot like this from the center position. And as we've seen over the last week or so, 5-out offense can be pretty fun when deployed correctly and actually have something creative. So I think he's polarizing, but I lean more positive than negative.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I think that Cat's not my favorite player over the years, and but it's like I will say, it's like just learn to sit and watch. Not everything needs action, like that meme. That's kind of me with him. I thought they should have traded him, the Timberwolves. Although then when they did, I was like, wait, really? Because it's funny. It's like I wasn't quite sure in the moment. Also, the whole Randall thing. I think that Randall was not going to thrive in New York. That chapter needed to close. It's an example, and that's maybe how some people think about Ja. Maybe he needs to be in a different situation to thrive. At a certain point, certain players just aren't working. He's like found himself. I love to read about him just being happy. The marijuana.
I was gonna say he found himself. All right, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm.
Can I be honest? I don't know if you've heard this in your conversations with Knicks fans. Randall's not the person they miss from that trade. It's Dante.
Of course.
We bought into that Villanova thing, and then they traded for Bridges, and it's like, oh, the four of them are going to get to play together. Yeah. Well, they never did. And then Mikal Bridges is significantly... I want to be careful how I say this, because he's been really good this season. And I don't know the person, but doesn't have the same edge that Dante had. It was very clear this is Dante embraced the city.
He was like
and
the heart. But right. Josh was also kind of the heart.
Josh,
no pun intended.
Pun both intended and no pun intended. But that's it. Like, you had the three from Villanova, and then it's like you brought in Mikal, and it's like you saved him from Brooklyn, and then you lose Dante, and then Mikal is like he's fading away on layups, avoiding contact, and you're wondering, did we just downgrade in heart as well? And then the playoffs happen, and I got to be honest, there are parts of the playoffs that a lot of Knicks fans have just forgotten. Like that Boston series.
Multiple times.
The first two games against Boston where he makes the game-winning defensive stop, and it's like, it's what you brought him here for, know? So
any player that can win playoff games, like, that is the most, because we talk about Bane. That's not to say he hasn't had some great playoff performances, but like at the end of the day, like no matter how great someone is, they need to be able to win when it matters. And the Grizzlies have not been able to do that, whether it's injuries, whether it isn't. But that's what you have to look at. So yeah, Mikal, I definitely agree that he has looked good this season. I just think it's hard. Like you go from being a number one option, which is just funny because he's not a number one option, but he's a great number three option, or whatever he is on the Knicks.
No, to your point, at times he's the three, at times he's the four, at times he's the two. Exactly. That's what Mike Brown's offense has brought to us, Yeah,
exactly. So, Cat is like my concern, and I hate to be a hater because Cat is also. That's why I've been frustrated with him at times, because he's so freaking good, and like he just should be just the best, and he does things sometimes. I'm like, what are you, and why aren't you? What is? There's just something that's just off sometimes. But no, I hope that I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong.
Same. Look, it's a number one question for I think every Knicks fan come playoff time is which Cat's going to show up, and which will it be enough to be the second best player, at times the first best player on a team that makes the finals for the first time in a lot of our lifetimes. For me, I've seen them in the finals once, and it was a Cinderella run as an 8th seed during a strike shortened season, and then here we are 26 years later, hopefully 27 years later, hoping that it happens again. You've been great with your time, and there's one more question that I usually ask everybody, and it's the phenomenon of that game. Speaking of the Knicks run to the conference finals, they lose a heartbreaking game 1 to the Pacers. They blew a 14-point lead with 2.5 minutes left. And I've been asking everybody if they have that experience, if they have a game that you just say, hey, remember that game? And immediately, you don't have to add the context. The rest of the fan base knows. Do Grizzlies fans have that game? And if so, what is it?
Yeah, we don't. I don't think we do. There could be some fans that feel differently. Maybe I think the moment that haunted me for the longest time was Zebo getting suspended for Game 7 because of the Steven Adams, which is hilarious because we ended up loving Steven Adams, but the Steven Adams elbow or whatnot. but that wasn't like the game. That was the best player being suspended before the game. There was the closeout game where we lost at home in a game 7 to the Clippers. Losing at home in a game 7 is never fun.
Can I offer up an option that I was wondering if this might go
overtime one?
No, so it's the game Ja got hurt where he ended up missing the rest of the series, but game 2 against the game 2 against the Warriors where he goes down and the rest of the series goes the way it does.
So, you know what? I don't think I've ever been so gutted after a game as I was after that game. I just was sitting, I remember I was there. I was sitting in my seat. Yes.
That's it. I found it. That game.
But the thing is, it's like, I can't even it's just so much has happened since then but yes, you mentioning that, I mean, we were right there, and that the whole series is different. But all people see is that, we lost the series, and that was devastating. Yes.
Again, that speaks to that game. Like I have that as a Knicks fan. I have that. And I think the what if the Knicks win game 1 last year, you just mentioned it. I contend that the momentum and the vibes around New York City, we were putting up street signs named after Deuce McBride. Like,
oh yeah,
everything was advantage and energy Knicks. Yeah. And then with 1 3-minute stretch, all of that disappeared and you just had to play basketball. Like, the entire energy from that building was sucked out, and it leads to a what if. The Knicks win game 1. Maybe they win game 2. Maybe they win that series. Look at what happened in the finals. Maybe they also put up a fight against the Thunder. Yeah. And it's the what if of it all.
Yeah. I mean, so I made something about how Tyrese Halliburton, I love how much he wants to be the villain and how he embraces the villain role. And people were like, and I said he was the villain in New York and blah, blah, blah. And someone was like, no, Trae Young is. And I'm like, no, that's what year is this? Am I correct? Like,
Trae Young is 11-21 in his career against the New York Knicks, and that includes the 5-game series where really all the Hawks did was decide, let's guard Julius Randle, which no team had decided to do all season, and then he and his 49 effective field goal percentage in that series was able to flourish and win said series. No, Trae Young is not the villain in New York. No, Halliburton literally has a villain moment that he can point to now.
And are you able to respect that at all? Or are you just like, F that guy?
It's a competitive F that guy. Like,
yeah, exactly.
It's turned into, like, the Reggie thing was always so fascinating. And I honestly thought before that moment, a lot of the Halliburton stuff was forced.
Yes.
Then he eliminated the Knicks. That game 4 where he had a triple-double. And then watching him literally as a Warrior play the way he did in the finals, while he was hurt and give up his body. It's hard not to respect a person or a player like that.
For him to pull out the choke only for them to have a chance to lose, and for him to still, I was like, wow. Cause that's the most impressive part to me, that it's like, they literally, like, after that, you then have to go win it in overtime when you thought it was over. And he just did. He consistently showed up. That's maybe my favorite single person playoff run. And again, like I said, when we talked before the call, people in New York were mad at me, and I'm like, listen, I'm not rooting against the Knicks. I live here. Selfishly, I'd love for the Knicks to make the finals. The vibes are great. But as a fan of basketball who doesn't have an emotional attachment to the Knicks, oh my God, yeah, that Tyrese Halliburton run was so special. And it was like special also in that he wasn't just having the most like dominant playoffs, like numbers.
Yeah.
Like, he just kept every time. You're like, he can't do it again. He did it again every time.
There's a divine intervention aspect to it too, where he has the crazy ending of game 5 against the Bucks, has the crazy ending in game 2 against the Cavs, has the crazy ending at game 1 against the Knicks. And has the crazy ending at game 1 against the Thunder. And we're all just looking, yep, he did it to them too.
No, it's like a shared trauma. You guys can all start a support group.
I already talked about it with the when I did a Bucks and a Cavs pod. It's like, hey, remember when Halliburton did what he did to your season? Wasn't that terrible?
So one of my favorite things is like when you talk about players or teams with a fan of a different conference, like how guys that I'm like Tyrese, how the Knicks or the Celtics, they don't piss me off. I don't care. Like, but the Timberwolves, right? Or the Warriors, I'm like, ooh, like, or OKC, if you get me started about them, it's like, but then like you were probably like, oh, the Celtics, you know what I mean? It's so funny how we just have like we have the shared villains on our different like sides of the map.
That used to be my last question to people. What's the Mount Rushmore of rivals that you go through? Like, what are the 4 teams that you circle on the calendar? What are your 4?
Listen.
OKC sounds like it's 1.
Well, no, it's not, because they've way past. They did what we were trying to do, but better. They stole our flow. That we were the ones vibing in the post game interviews. We were all, friendship. And they did it. SGA. I believe it or not, I was once on a live stream with Cone, on Twitter, and we did a Ja versus SGA. This was a few years ago, and it was like valid. It was a
conversation
valid.
Then, yeah.
It was a conversation, and it. When I was, going into that, I think we both honestly kind of felt like it could have gone either way. Like it was a very, it was so neck and neck that it was like you could have just made the argument for either at the time. And the fact that was a conversation now is crazy. So I can't even pretend like, okay, yes, circling on the calendar, but they do the same thing to every team. Like what happened last night? I guess the episode will be tomorrow, but what happened in the last game, Grizzlies versus OKC, it's like the most predictable playbook, but every time they make you think they have a chance, and then they just completely shut you down and do not allow you to score. And so Warriors, I mean, it's
Lakers?
Draymond. It's Draymond.
It's Draymond. Okay. Yeah.
It's not Steph. I respect Steph a lot. What was the
Lakers?
Rui Hachimura, like personally, like broke my because he became the best player of all time against my team. I think that right now we're in such a spot where I just want us. The Timberwolves were certainly that team, but now that Cat's not on the team, it kind of went away because the classic like we are Minnesota now. That was so good. Our like one playoff victory with this core. Dear in my heart forever. But it used to, I think our old rivalries, it's like the Warriors. What annoyed me was when they pretended like the Grizzlies and Warriors weren't a rivalry. Literally several years in a row, it came down to them. The end of the season, we knocked them out, which was so incredible. We knocked them out in the play-in game, and then they knocked us out. Like it was very much a rivalry, and they tried to act like they were better than that. But no, the olden days with grit and grind, I think, were the best rivalries that we had. For sure.
Yeah. Well, I do hope that you get to revisit some of that at some point this season with the team starting to figure it out. But I once again mention, I hope it's after, despite the fact that you'll be in the building, that it's after Tuesday night's game against the Knicks. But listen, thank you, Molly, so much for giving me so much of your time tonight to talk about this matchup. Before you get out of here, please let the fine folks at home know where they can find you and all of your work.
Oh my God. I'm like the worst at this because I have different usernames on every platform. Molly Morrison, Molly Hannah M on Twitter and TikTok, Molly_Morrison on Instagram, where I post a lot of my reels. You can find me on the Bleacher Report TikTok making videos. I started a Substack, link in my bio's been chopping it up there, but you don't have to find me, but I'm there. I'm here if you want to find me. we like to plug Substacks here. We have our own Substack, and that's like the number one way we like to support people. Yeah, no, so the best. Yeah, I've loved writing publicly. It's my favorite thing, but I'm finally doing it. So the link to Molly's Substack, which I made sure to subscribe, that I was subscribed to before we started recording tonight, so I can say do as I do as well, Knicks fans. It'll be hyperlinked in this description, so please go subscribe to Molly's Substack before tip off tonight. That's your call to action, Knicks fans, is support Molly for coming on the show today. Thank you, Molly, for coming on today's show, and thank you to everybody for tuning in to another edition of the Knicks Film School Pregame Show. If you dug it, please like this video. Remember to subscribe. I believe we are less than 100 away from 50,000 subs on YouTube. Please
help us get there before tip-off of this game as well, but at least by the end of the week, before the NBA Cup on Friday against Miami. If you're listening, leave a 5-star rating and a review, iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get podcasts. As I mentioned, we have a Substack and a Patreon if you want bonus content from John, Benji, or DJ, and follow us on all socials at Knicks Film School. I'll be back tomorrow because the Knicks play the Orlando Magic, and I'll, of course, be previewing that game as well. But until next time, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Enjoy the game, and I'll speak with you soon. Peace.
Must be 21 or over? Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777. Massachusetts, call 800-327-5050. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY. Maryland, visit mdgamblinghelp.org. Not available in all states. Terms apply. See Fanatics Sportsbook app.